Hello, my loves, and welcome to your cosmic weather report for the week ahead. Now, I'm going to start off this report with a PSA, a public service announcement. On Monday, we get Mercury conjunct Mars. Now, this can bring impatience, irritability, being argumentative, being very sharp with our words. And so I just want to warn us all, because either we or everyone else around us may just be being very bitchy, irritable, argumentative, everything coming out. So just be warned about that. Now, this is for a very important reason that's going to continue really all the way throughout the week. And what we're going to find is that the things that we feel most irritable and impatient about are the ways in which we have been not speaking our truth, allowing ourselves to be treated in certain ways, feeling held down or held back by certain things in our lives, the ways in which we've been pretending or allowing or putting up with things. It's almost going to be like on Monday, everyone's going to want to suddenly speak their truth about what they're not happy with and be very direct with their words. But for many people, because they've been pushing it down for so long, or suppressing it for so long, or allowing it for so long, or avoiding it for so long, it can often come out in like a huge kind of torrent of just wanting to get everyone told. So remember, we are the lucky ones. We know about this. So first of all, give everybody, including yourself, a little bit of extra grace. But this is equally a time to begin to at least gather your thoughts and your feelings on what you feel really impatient, irritable about, and where you just want to get someone told. Really sit with that and go deeper into that, because that's going to give you an awful lot of insight you're going to be able to use over the week. If you're going to have those conversations on Monday, you will have that little bit of extra fire to do that. But I just ask you to watch your words and speak your truth, but tone down the anger. There will be an opportunity again at the end of the week on Saturday, whereby we're going to be able to find, and actually even on, I think Thursday, we're going to be able to find a much more clarity around our words and our communication. So it may be that you want to speak up on this day because you're brave enough to and you haven't been able to for so long, but just please watch your words. Try and drop out of your mind and into your heart and allow your words to come from your heart rather than your words to come from your mind, and you'll feel that they are received a lot better. But also, if you're going to have the conversations on this day, just be mindful that your words might be met with somebody else's fiery words coming back at you. So we may just need to step back afterwards and give everything a little bit of time to settle. If you're not going to speak up on this day, I still want you to take a lot of note around what you're feeling a certain way about, and make sure that you do get the opportunity then to speak it a little bit later in the week. But really notice on Monday where there is just that irritability in there and that impatience in there, and that is going to give you all the insight you need to know. Especially as on Tuesday, we get the Libra new moon. Now, one of the key things that this moon is going to bring up is it's going to really show you where your lack of relationship with yourself, so your lack of self-worth and self-trust and self-belief has caused you to accept less than you deserve, or stay somewhere that you're not meant to be for way too long. It's going to really show you where you have traded authenticity for approval, and where you've changed yourself to try to please others, or think if you just behave in a certain way that they will do that or give you that or they'll stay, whatever it may be. And this is a new moon now that's going to call you into real, radical truth and trust and authenticity with yourself. It's going to bring a lot of relationship healing that begins with your relationship with yourself. So it's going to ask you to really see that every other relationship in our life is a mirror of the one that we have with ourselves. And when we don't truly love and accept and own ourselves, we tend to allow other people and to kind of treat us in certain ways that we wouldn't if we were in that truth and authenticity with ourselves. So this moon's going to really ask you to look at the relationship you had with yourself. I know I mentioned to you last week about making the relationship you have with yourself your primary relationship. This moon's going to really ask you to do that, to really look at that relationship you have with you. It's also going to bring a lot of truth in relationships. So where things aren't working, where things have been brushed under the carpet, where things have been avoided, and where there is a fear of truth or being yourself in relationships. And this moon's going to ask you why. If you fear telling the truth in your relationship, why? What is it you fear is going to happen? If you fear being fully you in your relationship, why? What do you fear is going to happen? And that's going to really show you where there are certain relationships in your life that are being operated on fear rather than truth and authenticity. And again, if you can come back into that right relationship with you, into deep truth and trust and authenticity with yourself, that's going to automatically change the relationships around you. But this is going to stir up an awful lot of relationship stuff. And the place to look is at the relationship you have with you, because that will filter into every other relationship. So if you're looking somewhere and you're like, that's wrong in that relationship, look back at you, within you, and start the healing journey there. Now, Wednesday, then we get quite a powerful day on Wednesday. Neptune, who's currently retrograde, is going to move back into Pisces for the final time in 165 years. So Neptune rules Pisces. Neptune's going to move back into its ruling sign for the final time in 165 years. Now, this whole energy is about now significant endings and beginnings. As Neptune sits at that final degree of the zodiac, and Neptune's going to sit there at 29 degrees until January next year. This is significant endings and beginnings. This is closing out chapters and cycles. This is particularly closing out a cycle that started in 2011 when Neptune will first have moved into Pisces. So you may want to look back around 2011 as to what was happening there. Is there anything that's echoing from back there? Is there a cycle that needs closing from then? But in any which way now, this is closing out cycles. Now, this is particularly ending illusions. So again, this could be threaded back to relationships whereby you've been living under that illusion that things are going to change or things are going to get better. It could be ending of cycles in the work that you do when you've really disliked the work that you do for a long time, but you've kept telling yourself that you have to be here, or everyone else around you goes, yeah, but you've got a really, really good job. What's wrong with you? And deep down, you know it's not what you want to be doing, but you stayed and you stayed and you stayed. Anywhere you've been living under an illusion, anywhere that you have been, as the Libra moon showed you, staying somewhere for too long or allowing yourself to be treated in ways that you don't deserve. But there's been that, because you've not wanted to see the truth, you've had that illusion around, oh, it's not so bad, or it'll get better, or oh, they don't really mean it. We're going to need to end illusions. And this is also beginning to lead us into, particularly then when Neptune moves into Aries and meets Saturn there in February next year, this is bringing us into a place of grounded reality now, of knowing who we are, what we want, what we desire, and kind of making real the dream. So this is the chance now to end all those old patterns and sabotages and cycles and ways of seeking approval and fear of abandonment or rejection that causes you to behave in certain ways. This is like looking at all of your patterns and really closing things out. This is significant endings and beginnings that are going to move us through to the end of the year. And remember, I mean, the trees at the moment are astonishing. They're beautiful. Nature is showing us how beautiful and simple it is to let go. And Neptune moving back to that final degree of the zodiac is saying, you too now need to shed and let go and release of all you've been carrying around with you that isn't serving you, that you don't want to take into a big new cycle with you. Neptune and Saturn moving into Aries is the beginning of a new earth. It's a whole new beginning point. So what do you not want to take with you? And that's what autumn going into winter shows us. What do you need to be shedding? I want you to really feel into that. Now, taking us deeper into that, on Thursday we get Scorpio season, and on this same day Jupiter is going to square Chiron. Now, Jupiter squaring Chiron is going to happen just before midnight, so we will feel this energy much more on Friday, so it'll blend into Friday's energy. But this is where now you're being asked to face your shadows, take back your power. You're going to be able to see the tension between your beliefs and your fears, where you kind of believe something but you're also a bit afraid of it. You're going to be asked to really grow beyond your fears and your limitations, and to no longer let them stop you. And with Scorpio season, it takes us into inner transformation and inner alchemy and self-discovery, of really looking at those parts of ourselves that maybe we need to work on changing. It's going to just be a really big journey of self-discovery as we get towards the weekend. Now, this will be amplified then, because the Jupiter square Chiron energies, as I said, will continue into Friday. And we also on that day get the Sun square Pluto and Mercury trine Jupiter. So as the Sun squares Pluto, this brings us into, or shows us where there are power struggles, both internal and external, where we fight against parts of ourselves, where there are power struggles in the outside world. It asks us to face our shadows, to grow, to evolve. It's a really big catalyst for transformation. And with Mercury meeting Jupiter on this same day, there's going to be an ability to make sense of your thoughts and make sense of your beliefs and make sense of your actions and your behaviors. And so an ability to suddenly understand, oh, that's why I do that. Oh, that's why I stay. Oh, that's where I've been putting up with that. That's where I've been afraid to leave there. And you're going to have this ability to see beyond those restrictions and limitations, and to almost, again, Pluto, death, rebirth, transformation. Pluto is going to amplify those Neptune energies and ask you to, well, let these things die away. Let these things go. Let these behaviors go. Let these thought patterns go. Let these beliefs go. Let these fears go. Let these relationships you're clinging on to, or jobs you're clinging on to because you're afraid of what, let them all go. There's going to be this big moment of almost expansion beyond that. And as we get Mercury trine Jupiter, you're going to find an ability with this to be able to communicate in a much better way. So if from the start of the week you didn't say what you wanted to say, Friday and Saturday are the days to do it. Friday, first of all, because there will be this desire to take back your power, to speak a truth, to say no more. This is going to be Dave, no more. No more. I'm not doing this anymore. This ends now. This ends now. And then Saturday, Mercury is going to trine Saturn. So as Mercury trines Saturn, this is about problem solving, clear thinking, clear focus, and having those serious conversations, but in a thoughtful way, where you can really get your point across honestly and truthfully, but in a way that doesn't leave room for people then trying to kind of change your mind. There's going to be a real sense of knowing your mind and knowing what you need to say, and the anger and the fire from the start of the week will have dissipated a little bit. And if you've done the work over the week of really looking at your relationship with yourself, looking at your relationships with others, really feeling into what cycles and chapters need to end and to close, your shadows, where you're giving away your power, where things need to be transformed, there's going to be an ability to come the weekend to just be able to speak that truth, but in a very calm. You know, sometimes when things are fiery, so there can be an argument and a back and forth, and sometimes someone just says something to you and you know that that's their line, that's their boundary, that's their decision, that's their truth. The weekend's going to bring the ability to really speak and communicate that truth. I wish you a beautiful week ahead. I'll be back next week. So much love.